Well, hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, NoleFam, to another episode of our Australian Open special. It's going to be our last one. And kind of interesting, I wanted to tell you it is the first ever Novak Weekly somber episode. I mean,
Right.
we've been doing this for 5 months. And, barring that Davis Cup week, which again, technically Davis Cup, that does not count when it comes to the ATP tour. It's its own event under
Yeah.
the International Tennis Federation. We never had a losing episode. We've done Cincinnati, we have done U.S. Open, Paris Bercy,
Yeah.
and of course the ATP finals. And in all of those events, Novak was triumphant. But this is the first time when he lost, and as you probably are aware, he lost this morning, European time for me and Mario, against a much better player today. We have to be honest, and that is Jannik Sinner. He defeated Novak in his first ever semifinal loss, which is again. We'll list a little bit later a couple of his amazing stats, even
Yeah.
in a loss. Some of them are still good. Some of them are bad, very bad. But yeah, Yanni defeated Novak, as I said, 3-1, 6-1, 6-2, 6-7, and 6-3 ultimately. I have here my co-host Mario. Mario, first of all, buddy, we know that you're Italian. We know that you love Yannick. So first of all, I wanted to congratulate you and our Italian fans and people of Italy. We were just discussing about this backstage before we start recording this. This is the first time ever an Italian male tennis player is playing in a Grand Slam hard court, final. So that's right off the bat a historic achievement for Yannick. And how are you? How did you saw this match? Give me your first impressions. What stood out to you the most
Yeah.
before we dive into a deeper analysis.
Yeah. Of course. Let's say if we are not go ready to go very deep, the scoreline.
Yeah,
I mean, 3-1. Taking with this perception cannot be that bad. But especially the first two set. At one moment it was 6-1, 6-2. Oof. It was, I
very
had
bad.
2016 flashbacks, but in that case, it was the opposite. Against Federer, I'm mentioning that match for who maybe doesn't know. Yeah, so this is the first thing, and also talking about maybe a stat that comes at side first, the fact that he hasn't had a single break point in a world match. And
And
it's something that never happens, especially in
mm,
best of five, because the match is longer. In fact, as you maybe are about to say, it's the first time in a completed match that this happens, because the only other time was against Berdic at Wimbledon 2017, but he retired after one
yeah,
set and a couple of games. So it doesn't really
yeah.
count.
Let's repeat that. So this is the first time for the people who
Yeah,
didn't hear that, maybe misunderstood. This is the first time ever in a Novak's career that when match is completed, as Maria said, he had never
in Grand
had
Slams.
in Grand Slam a single breakpoint
Yeah,
opportunity, which
and to
is
take things
astounding.
into perception, Djokovic, I don't have right now the precise number, but has played over 400 matches at Grand Slam events.
Grand
So
Slams, yeah.
it's a big sample size. So that's also to underline how even. How to take also the, let's say, bad stats that may appear on the social media. uh, you know, for all the fans who are following us, it's also positive in some other way, because it's a testament to the greatness, to how weird and unusual is what has happened today. So I feel like these bad stats are to be taken in a positive way, even if you all read these things on the social media.
Yeah.
It's not to be harsh on them. It's they just underline even more the greatness,
and
because these are things that for normal players and even for top players, but not at this level, happen. I don't want to say often, but it happens during a career. And it took 20 years, more or less, 19 years of Grand Slam tournaments to make this happen.
Yeah, another stat that would fit into that category, which is kind of bad, but bad, negative, however you want to describe it, but that's also impressive and just shows how amazing career Novak had, is especially at the Australian Open. Is I mean, prior to this loss, he had 20 victories and 0 defeats in combined semis and finals at the Australian Open. This was his first ever defeat, in the latest stages of this Grand Slam in particular, which is again something astounding. But okay,
to make people smile, Jannik did today basically what Novak did to Rafa at the French Open in 2021.
That's
Rafa
true. That's true.
had a clear record at that point in semifinals and final, having won the title already 13 times, so 26 love, and Novak did it. So
I gotta say, our victory is sweeter because it's directly against
him. Of course, it's and also it's a lifetime rivalry.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, the greatest tennis rivalry of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
By far. Okay. Before we jump into our analysis, I just wanted to say, guys, please click on that like button, leave a comment down below. Let us hear you. What do you think? What do you think about Novak's loss, his performances? What do you expect from him for the rest of the season? Share this, and of course, please consider subscribing to this channel and turning that notification bell on, so you don't miss any of our updates or new videos and things like that. But yeah, one I have to point out, because I already used the word fascinated like 3 times in days, less than 10 minutes that we talked. But this is something that literally floored me. I don't know if you saw this, but I'm gonna read it. Jannik Sinner, listen to this. Jannik Sinner earned his first ATP point 10 days after Novak Djokovic lost to Hyun Chung in 4th round of the Australian Open 2018. His next defeat, meaning Novak's next defeat in the tournament, only happened 6 years later, and it was this morning against Jannik Sinner. So I mean, also this is something that you definitely saw, and I think that most of the people who watch us and follow us have seen, because first of all, I tweeted that, and multiple other media outlets tweeted that. Again, something I found fascinating, and people have, I think, one reporter, I think it was from Spain, asked Jannik on his post-match press conference, do you think that this was like written in the stars? And the stat was both Carlos Alcaraz at Wimbledon and Jannik Sinner at the Australian Open ended Novak's unbeaten record, which is exactly the same. 2,195 days, which again, I mean, how is that? What are the odds of that happening?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was like, come on, that can't be true. That can't be true.
Yeah, it's weird, because if you think about it, even without winning the Australian Open, just if Novak would have lost the quarterfinal or the final, this stat wouldn't have appeared. So
yeah.
I don't know if Novak believes in numbers, or that number have some kind of significance, he will hate this number for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and listen, I was this was the moment that I thought, it's written in the stars that these two guys are gonna be the 2 next great ones, because to beat Novak, the greatest player of all time, it's 2 of his best, his favorite Grand Slam tournaments. I know that Roger still has that record of winning 8 times, while Novak has 7. But again, Novak won against Roger 3 times in the final and has a better winning percentage. It still, I'm not discussing if Wimbledon is no tournament to run. It's when it comes to 4 Grand Slams, Wimbledon and Australian Open are his 2 most successful ones. So to have Jannik and Carlos Alcaraz, who are the 2 best young prospects that we had, well, basically since Novak Djokovic, achieve something like that, and those numbers and overall numbers game, it's just fascinating. But yeah, let's just leave those funny.
Actually, Sinner is the youngest Australian Open finalist since Djokovic.
Since Novak Djokovic, yeah.
In,
I mean,
in 2008.
Yeah, I feel like
this is also due to the big 3 dominance. That
I mean also
didn't allow the youngsters to really step up on these occasions and beat them.
I mean, another stat that just shows their dominance and greatness is this is going to be the first Australian Open final since 2005, so basically 19 years that neither Rafa, Roger, or Novak is going to be featured in. So again, when you talk about the 3 greatest players of all time, you can always come up or find some very interesting stats, and that's cool. That's quite cool, to be honest. It's a privilege for a tennis fan, for a sports fan, to be living in a world where those 3 guys played in. But yeah, let's talk a bit in details. Let's talk details about this match in particular. As we said, and as you guys know, Jannik defeated Novak 3-1, and it did not look that good. I mean, Novak himself said during his post-match press conference, and I'm going to quote him right now because I have his press conference. He outplayed me completely. I was shocked with my level in a bad way. This was one of the worst Grand Slams matches I've ever played, at least that I remember, and I completely agree with him. I mean, we've been doing this. This is our 6th episode of our Australian Open special, and apart from that main arena match, during every analysis / reaction video that we did, we discussed Novak's not so great level, especially we are accustomed to seeing him dominate 90% of the time, both matches themselves and tournaments overall. This tournament, again, I don't know if it was because we have to mention that I mean, people have been talking about that wrist injury. He came in the sickness or cold, whatever he had, flu that he experienced. But overall, in both first and second round, and again in the quarterfinals, even though he won, again, he did not look like himself, especially in the first 2 sets. Again, we were talking about, you said that this is the first Grand Slam match ever that Novak didn't have a single break point. Again, that was the topic of our previous episode, that Novak didn't manage to convert his 15 break points on Fritz's serve, which is again something that has also never happened when it comes to Novak. Not only Grand Slams, but overall in his career. So yeah, we kind of saw that in the first 2 sets tonight. Sorry. Well, tonight it was tonight in Australia. This morning for us. I mean, he was broken immediately. He was broken in the first set, in the second game of the set, in his first serving game, and broken again. Which led to Jannik winning 6-1. It was kind of the similar story in the second set, broken, in 6-2. He just, didn't look like he had not that he didn't want to be there. He didn't look like he had a will to live, honestly. I mean, he was moving in a kind of in a bad way. His serve was totally off. I mean, I have the stats here. I'm going to read it to you. And I mean, you probably
only
know.
But in the third set, he started serving better. I remember.
Yeah, the third set was
the tie break, starting at least with the serve.
Exactly.
Still a lot of mistakes, but he was holding well with the serve.
Yeah, but
for the rest of the match.
But look, listen to this. These are the first set Novak serve stats. First serve percentage, 43%. That's abysmal. First serve points won, 44%. Second serve point won, 42%. And, kind of break points saved, 33%. What scared me even more, again, I think one of the tennis analysts pointed out this morning on Twitter. I can't remember the name. I was trying to find that tweet, but simply couldn't. He basically, or maybe it was even a she. Apologies again. He or she said that we had Novak, one of the greatest, how should I say this? Like movers, chasers of the ball, whatever.
Yeah.
The greatest, one of the best servers of the modern era, and definitely the greatest returner in the history of the game, being completely outdone in all of those aspects of the game by Jannik Sinner. So Jannik played literally how Novak, usually plays, and these are the numbers for his return in the first set. First return points won, 21%. Second return was a little bit better. It was 38, but again,
but it's very bad considering that it's second serve.
Extremely bad. I mean, second set when it comes to return was even worse. When it comes to first return points won, it was 8%, just 1 out of 13. And second set was again 38%, 3 out of 8. Serve percentages were a little bit better, but again, shocking compared to Novak's level, because he showed that level in the third set, where the stats were 75% first serve, 79 first serve points won, 54 second serve points won. That was bad, but again, his return was also a little bit better. Overall, terrible game by Novak. I don't want to take anything away from Jannik, who again has been playing fabulous tennis during this entire tournament. This was the first match where he lost a set. All of his previous matches he won in straight sets, 3-0, and he looked like a man on a mission during this entire tournament. And even though last time we talked about, I thought that Novak was gonna actually I thought that really Novak was gonna easily win, because again I expected that he's gonna flick the switch like he did against Manarina, like he did against Fritz in the third and fourth set of their match. But just from the get-go at this morning, it was a no-show from him. So please, tell me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts. Give me your insight.
Yeah, first of all, of course, if we say that Novak played bad, we are taking anything away from Jannik, because
he made Novak play bad.
Probably against player like other players, what he had would have been still enough to at least play at a closer match, stay there in the score, like he did, for example, in the first rounds where he was shaky. Today was a bad level since the beginning of the match, as both players recognized, because of course both have been asked about this. It's not that Jannik just said things about. And honestly, he said the word shocked, and more or less it was the same. My reaction was more or less the same, because we are usually in that way of thinking that it doesn't really matter if he doesn't play well since the beginning of the tournament, finding a way, and then he's going to step up, to raise to the occasion. And today, both things have happened. Talking that Sinner played a great match, as he is always doing these past months, and Novak never really found his level, if not a little bit when probably also Jannik got a little bit tense in the final part of the third set. At least Novak was serving better. But overall, it never became a good performance. Even the way he's been broken in the fourth set, he was 40 love up in that game.
Yeah, I could not believe I was again getting a semi flashbacks of the Wimbledon when Novak had a break point in the fifth set, and we're talking about that dry volley that smashed the net. And
this is actually worse because the break point is only one, and yeah, you can make a mistake.
Please, I mean, tennis much more than I do.
Tell me.
Tennis much more than I do. You follow it much more. You love it much more than I do. How does that happen? Especially since you won the previous set and you kind of had the momentum on your side, and you lead 40. You have a 40-0 advantage, and then you lose the consecutive 5 points. It's not that he lost the game itself; that he didn't win a single point for the rest of that game.
I'm telling you also that curiously it has happened once in all the 3 matches that Djokovic has lost lately against Sinner.
Yeah, that's true. In Davis Cup, I mean.
But also the ATP finals, even if it was the first set, so it has a different meaning. But the deciding break in the first set, when they were 5-0 in the first set, Novak was 40 love on serve and got broken. Of course, this time it was more important because in Davis Cup it was on return. So let's say like it's passable. But here on serve, after you won the third set, Novak was already good enough in saving break points at the beginning of the fourth set because Jannik had some break points in the first return games. And then, from 40 love, it happens because usually these are not things that Novak does usually, but you may be a little bit loose in the first point and you got to 40-15, and then maybe, a Sinner hit an incredible shot and he goes 40-30, and then the game is on. It gets close. And losing 5 straight points on serve, it's actually something that doesn't happen very often. But I mean, more or less nothing that happened today is something that for him happens so many times. And of course it has taken a great opponent to still beat him. Probably the most informed player of the moment, considering
Jannik,
also the final parts also of last year, even if Novak still won the ATP final. So maybe also, I also was telling this before, after Carlos lost to Zverev in a quarterfinal, and I was like, probably between all the picks he could have had in his own quarterfinal, Zverev was the toughest one. And here also it's probably like this because Medvedev is still a great player, but probably his level is not being that good, at least so far. He may still win the title, of course, on Sunday. But I mean, when you play that bad, there's no excuse that you may find. I mean, in my opinion, it was honestly a bad match, and he will be back. What we have to say, probably if I can add the second set, even Davis Cup, for example, he lost the first set quite comfortably. I mean, was comfortably for Sinner to win the first set, but you already saw that in the second set that fire was back, the level was back, and here this hasn't happened, and this has been the strangest thing to me because weird, he lost the first set 6-1, but you expect now he's going to be back strong in the second because after he lost badly the first one, he already wants to, and also going love 2 against Sinner is not like going love 2 against some other player right now, and so I was sure he would do everything possible to avoid this scenario. And this reaction didn't happen, and this was, in my opinion, even stranger than what happened in the first set, which you may say, maybe sometimes it can takes you time if you're not feeling particularly well to get into the match. But also maybe well played to Jannik, that once got the lead, he never really let Djokovic kind of hope, at least in those two first set.
Yeah, I mean,
And yeah,
in the second set, Jannik on his serve, he lost only 6 points, and most of that was due to his last serving game where he lost 3. So he won.
Yeah.
He won two. He won 2 of his service games without dropping a single point, and he lost additional point in other words. So again, just outstanding. I mean, he really looked like a
Yeah,
man
I
on a
mean,
mission
of
there.
course, even because, for example, if you think about it, when Jannik was serving for the match in the fourth set, 5-3, only one break, and Novak was 15-30, and Jannik hits an ace and already 30-all, So didn't let, in that case, for example, he has been very good to not let even Djokovic get into the rally. But of course, we have to recognize the bad performance. Unfortunately,
No,
we
he
can't
did.
do otherwise.
I mean, let me ask you this quickly: how much of a factor do you think was the fact that they were playing a day session, and that the conditions were it was windy? Because I saw a couple of it was actually the commentators on Eurosport, and again I watched Gil Gross. Gil Gross's post match analysis where he mentioned,
Yeah.
as we all know, that Novak doesn't like to play in I'm not talking about day session, in windy conditions.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
That and humidity is something that he hates, and it's getting worse by each passing day, because
Yeah.
when you're older, you're dealing much worse with those type of things than when you're in your 20s or mid 20s or something like that. So how much of a factor do you think that was?
Well, I tend to agree. It was maybe a factor, yeah. I think so. The only strange thing is that, a factor at this extent, but still, yeah, I agree that maybe it was a factor. Of course, if you're going to ask him, probably due to class and sportsmanship, is going to tell you no, it was not a factor, but probably it was. Even in some missed returns on the second serve, probably it was.
I want to read you a quote from
Yeah.
from Novak's press conferences. This is something about he was talking about how he didn't play that well during the entire tournament. So
Yeah.
to be honest, I'm quoting him, of course. To be honest, the whole tournament I haven't really played close to my best. Match maybe against Manarino was great, but most of the matches, and as already we mentioned that, I was not playing up to par, so to say, the way I play here in Australia normally. So in a way, it did surprise me, because I thought it won't be that bad in the first 2 sets. But on the other hand, I didn't feel really myself on the court during this tournament. One can say semifinals is a great result, of course, but I always expect the highest of myself, and it wasn't meant to be today. What do you think of this quote of his?
Well, it's a well put statement, because all what he says is true. He never was unbelievable. Even if we put things into certain perspective, even in that match against Manarino, we can argue that Manarino was coming from 3-5 set matches, and maybe was even not at his best. But even without considering this, and just saying that that was a great performance, still it's not enough to say that he played well in this tournament. There have been moments in where he raised his level and played quite well, but overall, yeah, it hasn't really been a great fortnight for him. Rare to see this happening in Australia, that's for sure. But I mean, we have, in my opinion, I don't know if what I'm saying can be controversial, but I think that we just have to accept that as time passes, not every time things can go in the perfect way. I still think that, of course, he's going to still be there, and I still think that he has all the chances, of course, to win another Grand Slam title this year for sure. I'm not going to make the mistake to overreact to the defeat.
But let me ask why. I have to ask, and I really wish that both Jay, who unfortunately can't do this with us today. Why do people still do that? I mean, you of course saw that, and as we all did, not only from Twitter users, but media again.
Yeah, I mean, because
and it's not like we don't have the evidence to support who don't support those claims. I mean, we experienced that last year. I mean, I know that among NoleFam on Twitter, it's a interesting and funny topic. The Nike's Carlos Alcaraz era ad, which again, and this is something.
Nike is a sponsor, so from Nike, I can understand it because Nike is still.
Of course, they're gonna put. Yeah, they're gonna push their.
It's still maybe it's still a little bit unfortunate in small term, in the short term, because then Novak won the US Open, but Nike
won everything after that. Yeah, but how can the media and generally people, I have to say that, how can you ask some guy, is it ending? Is your career on a downward spiral? He won 3 Grand Slams last year. Yeah, of course.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
How many people do you think, talking general people, even people who maybe don't follow tennis but just know Novak Djokovic and some few other players, how many people would buy a newspaper who only gives you a technical perspective without a big storyline? Unfortunately,
5% of the population.
Oh, unfortunately, this is what most people are attracted by. Both sides, people who like this kind of narrative, and also people who dislike this kind of narrative. Because if you are there, quote the tweet and say this is disrespectful, and then you share it, and engagement grows, and this is what media wants. And
but
so
that just sad and stupid.
I know, but I'm just explaining why. I'm not saying that I would do that. I'm just explaining the way I think why this happens. So the only thing I can say is that I never overreact to losses. Yeah, I can understand fans. Any fan has his own way to react to a defeat, to a bad moment, or to a win, to a trophy. Everyone has its own way. So for me, fans, should not be taken into consideration. Anyone, as long as he speaks only for himself, can do more or less whatever they want. For media, yes, but I still think that probably this time they're going to wait at least a couple of slams defeat before saying it.
I mean, come on, man. Unless we don't see him actually win at least one slam, or he commences a run of continuous defeats against Carlos and Jannik and I don't know Daniil or whomever. How can you say how can you say his era is coming to an end? I mean,
no, but yeah, in my opinion, it's just the research of a big storyline, which is not involving, for example, Jannik Sinner, because he is less known by the general public, but involving Novak Djokovic. You know what I mean? For me, for example, today it's and every time, after a match, it's more the focus on who won the match, what he reached, how big of a feat this is, and this is for me already a big storyline. First Grand Slam final, even mentioning, the country success, first Italian final at the Australian Open, a big run at the Slam for Jannik, who's been playing great lately, and all these things. But the general public, want the story about Djokovic because he is the most known player, and it is a bit sad, but yeah,
Do you know? Do you know? Do you know?
I
Do
don't
you
know
know
what.
what? Do you know what I actually find sadder or more sad? I don't know. Sorry if I'm making a grammatical error here. It's actually Novak fans who some of them I know from Twitter, some of them I know on Twitter, some of them I seen who are actually like this is over. This guy suck right now. I mean, hasn't he proven to you
That's
that
why I think that is important to put into perspective that Novak is 36, not because I'm thinking that the era is coming to an end, but because I think that, especially at this age, it is wrong to overreact to a loss over Jannik Sinner in a
yeah
major
he
semifinal, considering that he won the US Open, so the Slam right before this one, the ATP Finals. That's why.
you can win every match, man.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, even before the end of the era, of course, 36, 37, 38, these days will happen. But I still think that there will be better days, in he will win. It's not that the era ends from one day to another. You know what I mean? The era ends. It's a long process. You can't say, one defeat and oh my god, the era is over.
No,
So
yeah,
if tomorrow Medvedev loses the final, Medvedev's era is over.
yeah.
It's basically this. It's the storyline. That's what even journalists people are saying. But why journalists are keep asking him about the retirement?
Yeah.
Because they are hoping to get a big quote to then,
Or a stupid quote.
or a troll quote
Well,
like,
yeah, or some,
I
yeah,
will
there's something
play
that,
till Los Angeles in 2028. That
yeah,
I don't know if it will happen or not, but still right now it is a sarcastic quote,
yeah.
Um,
I want to believe that, but listen, ultimately, it's gonna be when it comes to winning slams and being competitive until he decides. Once he decides, I'm tired. I'm done. I want to move in my life. Be a
yeah,
family man or start coaching or be a businessman or whatever.
yeah, everything.
He's gonna, you can see it. One of the things that I love about Novak is he's very expressive. That's what
Yeah,
you can see on his face, basically what he thinks and how. I mean, I told you, a couple of minutes ago, during this match, you could have seen that, his mind, his spirit was not on that court. That's something that he doesn't fake his emotions.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I am again. I know that he's probably tired. I know I am. That journalists are keep asking him that questions. I mean, I think we talked about twice during these last 10 days
Yeah.
about that. Even though he addressed the same topic like twice in the last couple of months. But yeah, again, as you said, journalists are just those stories are sell newspapers or get clicks on the internet today, not the I don't know, Novak served this percentage or something like that, because most of the people don't care about that. Some of them don't even understand that. So, yeah, but I also wanted to ask you about Novak's quote about Jannik beating him 3 times
Okay.
since November, and again, I'm gonna. This is the part again. I don't know which journalist told him this, but
Okay.
this is what the journalist said. That's the third time Jannik has beaten you since November, and you were unbeaten against him before that. What has changed in Jannik's game to take him to the next level? And this was Novak. He was always smacking the ball really hard from both forehand and backhand corner. Just he's famous kind of for that. Just slaps the ball, plays very quick, loves to be aggressive. I think his serve improved a lot. He's hitting his corners very well, and I think he upped his speed as well, serving bigger now and more precise movement overall and mental part, which is extremely important, and why I said that victory during Davis Cup was going to be massive for him moving forward. He was, those are actually my words, not Novak's, but this is Novak. He was always very calm, very composed on the court, but I think he struggled maybe to win the big matches in the big moments, but now it's coming together for him. Of course, Darren Cahill, who is a very experienced coach and someone that has worked with former number ones in the world. Obviously, having him in the corner is very helpful from the mental side of things, of course, along with everything else. And yeah, he's got a great team. He's on a very good path. He's going to have a chance in a couple of days to win his first Grand Slam. Which like he's spot on everything, especially on the Darren Cahill part. I mean, once he joined the team in the middle of the last season, it was when Jannik kind of broke through. I mean, he won in Canada. He won the tournament that you said against Daniil. Well, actually, you said that before we started recording, against Daniil in China, in Beijing, and in Vienna, which ultimately led to his victories over Novak and Davis Cup and everything that we are seeing right now.
Yeah, today was Jannik's 32nd match against a top 5 player in his career.
How many wins?
Right now it's 13.
Oh,
Take
okay.
the first 16. Take the first 16, it's 115. Take the last 16 is 12-4.
Yeah. Amazing turnaround.
So if you split, if you exactly split the record, you're watching two totally different kind of stats. When he was not still winning these kind of matches, I always say that I was confident in him because I was liking his mentality, and a lot of people were telling me, "But what mentality? If maybe in the big match, fifth set is not able to win," and I am like, it's not that anything should happen quickly at 20 or never. I always felt like he was taking the losses in a positive way, meaning that positive way, it's like, these matches are really showing me what I need to do better in order to arrive there. Let's not forget that Jannik has fired his team once he got to the top 10, and the tennis world was like, what are you doing? Yeah. Why are you doing that? Right after the Australian Open 2022, where he reached the quarterfinal, and it was a good result for that stage of his career. He was top 10, breaking the top 10 since a few weeks ago, a few weeks earlier, and people were kind of shocked. Why is doing this? Piatti put him into the top 10, really made him as a player, and he felt that he was needed a change. And after some time, the change is paying, and this is a great mentality. And he has been asked about.
That's the only mentality if you want to become
he has been asked,
successful.
He has been asked in the press conference. In my opinion, it was not a bit stupid as a question, but I hope the journalist is not answering us. He's not listening to us.
No, he's definitely not. Trust me.
They are. These journalists have asked him, "You have just beaten Novak Djokovic, the greatest player on the court he's had the most success, where he was not losing since 2018. Why did your celebration was so calm and composed?" And he simply said, because it was not the final. And this is And this is amazing answer.
That's Kobe mentality. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you know that clip when it was the Lakers and Celtics at the NBA Finals 2010, and I don't know if you know that when the
Tell me.
NBA playoffs come, they play best of 7. Basically,
Yeah,
you need
yeah,
to win.
yeah.
Yeah, you need to
I
win
know
4
this.
games, and they
Yeah, I
were
know.
2-0 up. And one reporter, I'll send you that clip later, if you, in case you haven't watched it. One of the reporters asked him, basically like, Kobe, why are you like that? Why are you not celebrating? He's like, what's there to celebrate? Is the job finished? Job's not finished. So yeah, that's a proper. That's not proper, as I told you. That's the only mentality if you want to reach the highest of heights.
Yeah, I
So,
definitely agree.
and he was definitely not. I mean, being a top 10 in tennis is amazing. I mean, there are thousands of players, playing it, and only the smallest amount of players, get to those heights and earn money and rankings and titles and whatever. And some players are satisfied with that. Jannik obviously not, because he's, first of all, talent-wise, one of the greats. But again, as Novak pointed out, in the last 6 months, maybe 6 months, he's proving that
Yeah,
mentally
I would say a
he's
year.
he's proving that he's mentally also ready to ascend to those heights. And I think it's great for tennis. I think it's great that we have guys like Carlitos and Jannik, who are both really cool guys. They seem honest, sweet, humble, no controversies, nothing so far. Again,
Yeah, and I would say the
we'll
same
see
even
how
for. I would say the
even
same
for
also for.
Daniil Medvedev. And
Yeah,
I don't know if you
exactly.
have
Mm, yeah,
tennis.
I think the same about him.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
this Australian Open, I feel like regardless of who
yeah. He's
everyone
a
wanted to win, showing this grit, for example, to win 2 matches from love to down. It is really great stuff, and I feel like this is a very strong period where there are 4 or 5 top guys who are really going strong. And so yeah, also just for the mentality aspect, yeah, definitely, I always felt that he had this kind of good mentality. And so when people were like, but he has no variety, and I was like, okay, he will have one day. And he started doing things better, and that putting in perspective that 2 losses in majors over the past 3 majors, so 1 title, and 2 losses over Alcaraz in the final and Sinner in the semifinal. I wouldn't. I don't see a guy at the end of an era.
no,
It's of
definitely
course.
not.
It's of course not in his physical prime, because it
No,
isn't. If you saw videos and matches from Novak 2015, 16, that's prime physical level for him.
that's something
Even
we
if
haven't seen ever.
even if he's still good enough now, but it's not the prime level. Bad days can happen, and it's also why before the year I was like, in my opinion, he's not doing the calendar slam. You were, oh, you're so harsh, you're pessimistic. And no, I still think that I still expect him to do great things, but I know that at 36, doing something for for a small margin you haven't done it in at the 35, at the 30, at 28. And it's not because I'm doubting the ability and the greatness, but I feel like we have to be prepared that at 36, 37, a day like this can happen, and maybe he will win the French Open, and I still think that he can.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm like, okay, congrats, Jannik Sinner. It was a bad match. Stop for now, for me.
Exactly. I completely agree with that. Before we go, give me your quick thoughts on the upcoming final, which will feature Jannik against the before mentioned Daniil Medvedev, who again orchestrated another fascinating comeback at this year's Australian Open, coming back from 2-0, 2 sets down against Sasha Zverev, who was playing against one of his best tennis in career, and ultimately won 3-2 and will play Jannik in the final. How do those two match up? I know that Daniil leads their head-to-head. It's 6-3 overall, although Jannik has won the last 3 times, and those were finals which have happened in the last 6 months, I believe. So yeah, what can tennis fans? I don't know if Nola fans will watch it. I believe some of them will. I will. You will. What can we expect to see in that match quickly?
I feel like these are two players who are more or less the same level. And also I feel like it has become kind of an unpredictable matchup, this one, given how it's going, so I'm giving the edge to Jannik because he should be fresher going into the final. He's had an easier path, talking about the time spent on court and sets dropped, because beating Rublev, especially Djokovic, it's not really so easy as a path, but considering how this match is played out, he should be fresher going to the final. And this is the only thing, in my opinion, which makes the difference, because I feel like, there is, especially on hard courts, these two players are really at the top of the game. The last year, they've played 5 times in a hardcourt final, and this is the 6th since the beginning of last year, including the Miami final, which was a Masters final. They played the semi-final at the ATP finals. Here we'll play in the final at the Australian Open. So they are great, especially on this surface. Medvedev, for example, just to how ridiculous is this stat? Medvedev has been finalist in 5 out of the last 7 slams played on hardcourt, which is amazing. If you think about it, he won only once. That's right.
But who did he play against?
Yeah, exactly.
In all of those 5,
exactly.
only
Still,
Rafa and Nole.
I think that more pressure is going to be on Daniil. I know that Jannik is in an unbelievable moment, and there is this expectation that after beating Djokovic, you have to win the title. But I feel like 6th Grand Slam final, going 1-5. First time you don't face Djokovic or Nadal, even if Sinner is still a great player. But I think that you perceive this great tension that you have to win this second slam for how long you've been around, but of course it's a Grand Slam final, and any player feels a lot of pressure, because even if we say many chances ahead, all these things, you still don't know. Anything can happen in life, and so it's always kind of a now or never, because you have now the chance, and what do you know what's going to happen in the future?
Listen, Novak was playing multiple finals a year, and every time he would play, I would be extremely nervous. Every time he would lose, I was like, is he going to play another final, or is this a lost opportunity? Which again was a stupid mindset to have, but it's again. I feel like it's a natural thing.
It's not stupid, because you really never know. It's appreciation of the moment also.
Exactly.
You don't know what's going to happen. Of course, I'm not wishing anyone this, but imagine 2009 US Open final. Del Potro, 21 years old, beats Federer in that way. He's only 21. And
one
you
of
feel
the best
like,
talents we have.
This guy is going to be around for quite some time. Maybe he'll win even more than one slam. And then he didn't have such opportunities. Only another final against Novak at 2018. Also because of all the injuries he had and all the things that happened in his life. So you never really know. And so I feel that the pressure is going always to be on your shoulder when you play the match of your life, But I mean, I feel like I'm still calling a very long match. I think Daniil will recover pretty well.
Give me a prediction. Who wins and how many sets?
I'm going with Sinner in 4 for this match. I feel that even if it's going to be close, I'm not sensing a five set marathon. Right now, I'm giving him the edge because maybe it can also be the BAs of the moment, the fact that he beat Novak and losing only one set along the way. But I won't be surprised if Daniil wins it, because especially on this surface, he's truly elite player.
Yeah, listen, both players deserve that. They played exceptionally well during the entire tournament. Jannik more impressive with his game. Daniil more impressive with his wins, as I already said.
Exactly.
Twice he came back from 2 sets to
and also
nil
another
and
fifth
won.
set.
Yeah, another fifth set.
In the
Yeah, sorry, I
quarterfinal.
I completely forgot about that. So yeah, okay.
Medvedev is 3 hours and few minutes away from being the player who spent the most time ever on court in a Grand Slam event.
And I believe he's gonna achieve that.
Yeah, probably yes. I don't feel
Yeah.
like even if it's Sinner, I don't feel like it's going to last.
It should, yeah, it
less
should be
than
a
3
long.
hours.
It should be a long match because we said both players are tall, lengthy, great servers.
Even today's semifinal has lasted more than 3 hours.
Exactly. Okay, that would be it for today's episode, buddy. I want to thank you for joining me, fellas. This was our last episode of our Australian Open special. Please, again, if you are new here or you haven't done it already, please click that subscribe button and turn those notification bell on. Sorry. Of course, please like this video again because it helps with the YouTube algorithm and stuff like that. Leave your comment down below, your thoughts. What do you think about how 2024 season will look like for Novak, where he'll play, how much he can win, and whatever. We'll take a short break next week, and then a week after that, we'll be coming back with that new content that I mentioned and promised multiple times, both short format and long format. And also I'll be publishing a sort of an announcement video in regardless to all that and everything that has been happening during the Australian Open because we had some controversies. I don't know if you guys know, but yeah, to be honest,
just
please.
wanted to say to all who's listening to us, even if maybe you are disappointed right now, follow the final. No. Who the
people.
public, people, the fans,
Absolutely.
Follow the final if you're free, and support the sport and the tennis if you love this sport. He will be back. He will be back.
Absolutely. So thank you, buddy. Thank you, guys. Subscribe, like this video, and everything. Follow us on social media. You guys know the drill. That's it from us. I'm sorry that it didn't end the way we wanted to, the way we expected to. But again, we're moving on. It's going to be a long season. Novak is going to win. Trust me. And we'll be here to celebrate with all of you guys.
You were doing on Twitter, I saw the last time Novak has lost at the Australian Open.
Oh, yeah.
Happened. And I'm also adding a loss to an Italian at a Grand Slam. Because at the French Open in 2018, at French Open, a loss against Cecchinato.
Exactly. So basically what it was, the last time Novak lost at the Australian Open, and as Mario said it right now, at the Roland Garros in the same year. Again, he mentioned Cecchinato. He went on to win both Wimbledon and the US Open. And let me remind you, that was in a season when he was coming back from a major elbow injury. So he's not having those problems.
Number 22 in June and number 1 at the end of the year. So
yeah, he's not having those problems right now, and we really expect him to do great this season. We'll be here with you guys to watch him, follow him, and celebrate him and his success. As I said, next week we'll take a short break. We'll be coming back after that, and stay tuned for updates. And please like and subscribe. Bye. Idemo, Nole.
Bye.